Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to DevFest, the largest gathering of developers across the world, and most importantly, welcome to DevFest Kenya. We are so glad to have you here and for sparing your time to join DevFest. I mean, we've been waiting this for so long, and it's finally here. I hope you are all excited. If you're excited as I am, please share in the comment section, and you can also tell us where you are tuning in from. And yeah, as usual, there is no DevFest without an icebreaker, a game to start everything up because it's morning and we're still a little bit lazy. So we're going to do a game, to spice everything up and to get us on momentum. And yeah, so we'll be doing the famous Kahoot game, and I'll be joined by Ruby and Anne, who will take us through the whole, Kahoot thing. So get ready for Kahoot. Get ready for Kahoot. This is going to be exciting. Yeah, yeah. Ruby and Anne, say hi to everybody.
As always.
And yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, guys. Again, welcome. So we're just going to have a very quick game. We have to, be up and about. So I hope you guys are ready. I can see we still few, but it's gonna be fun anyways.
Yeah, tell your friends. Tell your friends. It's going down.
Yeah. So hi guys. My name is Ruby. The Kahoot master around here. So it's people know me from GDG. Just ask people how it went. So we'll be having a nice hot Kahoot today to start everything up and see you there.
You know when Ruby says hot, it's hot. You guys should be ready for this. Steaming hot. It's smoking.
My Kahoots go international.
Okay, let's see what you got for us. Yeah, so quickly, I think we should just go to kahoot.it. Kahoot.it. Just go to kahoot.it. Please tell your friends.
Sharing my screen now.
Yeah, tell your friends we are playing and we are doing giveaway. Ha! Hey, you don't want to miss this.
Okay, so
okay.
So here's our game pin, and so go to kahoot.it and put in the game pin. Yeah.
Should I join in too? Let me join in.
You can see the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the music coming from the Kahoot?
Yeah, I think so.
Is there a way to not play the music? I don't know. Yeah, I see Zaki Dev. I know you.
Jeff, okay, who is me?
Who is me? Like who is me?
It's you.
Me. Okay. Kahoot.it. For those who are new to the game, Kahoot.it. That's the game pin 474-3074. 474-3074.
And I hope you have good internet because it will help you this point in time.
Yeah, and for those who know Kahoot, you can only win in this game if you're fast. If you don't have fast fingers, my friend.
Fast fingers plus knowledge.
Oh yeah, true. They're very important. But you know that people who can actually guess and get the answer right.
Plus luck.
Let me join in this game and let me not hear someone telling me that, oh, she knows the game. I don't know the game, so I'm going to play. My name is me. I hope my internet does not fail me. I hope everyone should be making a prayer right now. I see we have Ivy joining in from Kajiado. Welcome. What's the pin? 474-474-3074. 474-3074. It's on the screen. It's on the screen, but yeah. Yeah. Mercy, Richie, she's around. Alela. Hey, Alela is here. Okay, interesting. Okay. Joining in from Kisii. Karibuni sana to DevFest Kenya. If your friends are still sleeping, please tell them we have started. And we have started it, on a high note. Yeah.
Hi, Alela, joining in from Pluto. Alela, we know where you are.
Is Pluto a county?
I don't even know. Maybe it was discovered yesterday. She should tell us. Kiara, another Alela. Alela, there's your duplicate.
I see Benson is joining in from Mars. Okay, you guys already cracking me up this morning.
Ben. Ben in the house. Very welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Joining from, I think now it's a trend. Everyone is joining from
my different
wherever. Okay. What happened to the screen? You're on mute.
Please share the screen so that you can start.
Sorry, I was switching my screens. 1 minute.
The problem with tech bros will always tell you they're switching screens. I think they have like 10 screens on there. I cannot deal with you people.
So that I can see StreamYard again.
Can we not play the music in Kahoot? I don't know, I just find it funny. I find it's distracting the flow of knowledge. Like if I want to answer a question, I hear that music.
Right now, 27. I don't know how
like
much
27. Yeah.
Ruby. Yeah, okay. Okay, that is how many are watching? We are 55 watching, and we only have 27 people. Like, guys, Ruby, there's a request. Please stop playing the music.
Mute your video from the panel on your right.
Yeah, I mean, people want to hear our beautiful voices.
Tabby.
Okay.
When are we starting?
Still
This internet starts.
Okay, let's do 30. Let's just, wait for 1 minute.
I see Alex. I saw you yesterday. We're glad to have you here once again.
By the way, I was saying, but I was saying, if you have not yet joined our Discord channel, it's crazy. People are getting crazy over there. We had a very nice party yesterday, and we'll be having an even hotter one today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to see me roasting Tabby, that is a place to be.
Roasting Tabby. Am I miscon?
Tabby alone now. We can start.
So
I think there's going to be a punishment for those people who come late to class. So if you're not joined in, I think we will go without you.
Joining from
Karibu Elizabeth.
First time joining. Welcome, Oteno. You won't regret it, by the way.
Like
if you join yesterday,
Discord is the place. Our DJ just came in.
If you joined yesterday WTM, you know how far it was. So today won't disappoint.
Yesterday was super crazy.
Let's start.
So I think we are at 32. I think we're going to start now.
Yeah.
So I'm giving 30 seconds to anybody who wants to join. Then we join. So if you want to join, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I see J Eunice. I don't think that's Alela.
Joining from Mayakos, from Eldoret. Yeah, tell us where you're joining from. I'll try as much as possible to display them here on the screen. So the 30 seconds are over. I didn't count them, but I believe they're over. There. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, action.
Oh my God, I hope this is. What
First
chapter was the
GDG
Ding. Where's the first
and Africa.
that was in Nairobi.
Woohoo!
First
Sabina, stop confusing people.
and Africa. 8 answers. People answer. You have 5,
In
4,
Sub-Saharan Africa.
2, 1.
And we did.
My
Because
Kahoot
Abuja, my guy. Sabina, you confuse people.
Please don't listen to me. Please don't listen to me.
Sabina, you lied.
For those who don't know, the trick to Kahoot is the faster you answer, the more points you get, if you get it correctly.
Okay, boss.
Yeah, so the faster you answer, the faster you get it. So, question 2, Google parent company.
That's I don't know.
Yeah? Of course, Google is an international company. So we have
Do you know? I was
Think of-
actually.
No.
Do you know what, guys? I was actually looking for San Francisco. I thought that's the answer, like San Francisco, London. That's what I was looking for. What is parent company? I thought.
people are smart here.
The mother.
Alela, that was okay. Let me not comment about Alela. Let's go on.
Question 3.
Question 3.
Multi-select.
First
See,
GDG.
what's the first chapter?
Shaka.
One answer.
One answer.
People don't know.
Wait, was it more than one answer? Hey, my guy. It was only. Shit. No, hey.
My friend, did you
What
write
did you do?
Did you write
What?
GDG? I think this guy tricked us.
Kizaram is on fire. Let's go, Ricky. Number 4.
Next question.
Guys,
This is a question.
You.
I gave you the answer. Where is it?
Shit. We have died here. No.
Let's see.
I swear, Kahoot can give
Me, I'm
you
that
5%.
Silicon Valley.
Huh?
We have died
Kahoot can
with
give you
you.
hypertension.
Silicon Valley.
Now the devil. It's the devil that showed us it's Silicon Valley.
Who is Kizaram? Alela and another Alela.
Chizaram is Tabby.
Shut up.
Alela and another Alela.
Shut up.
Alela has a twin.
Oh, interesting.
Original motto.
Original motto.
What is that now? What is motto?
The faster you answer, the more points you get. That's why people are getting more points because you're answering faster.
Do you know what, Ruby? I only know our school motto. Which one is Google's motto? Like Alela, do you know the school motto? Did I say school? Google.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be evil.
I'm feeling lucky. Let's start with that. Okay.
Alela umepitwa. It's disheartening to see that Alela amerudi. The order in which they are used.
Hey, God.
It displays Google's logo here for the last few questions. So
I don't know this question. I don't know.
in which order did you follow it now?
I'm guessing
order?
Let me go and Google.
say Google logo for the last 3 questions.
If we die, we die.
If you die, you die.
Oh my goodness! Hey
If
God,
we die,
how?
we die. Baby.
I thought it was red
That's
first.
blue. We have given up on this game. Me too.
After this, I'm going to check the Google logo again.
Anyway, we have time to redeem ourselves.
Identify this.
So identify that logo.
Identify this
That.
logo.
Usually.
Usually.
Which OS is that? Yeah, these are
What
the
the hell?
questions
I
that
don't
show
even
who is
know.
OG.
Is that even an OS?
This guy
Yeah,
wants to kill
Linux
us.
people know this. Linux people should know this.
This guy wants to kill us.
Yeah.
What is this?
They do.
Fuchsia?
Hey, guess what?
Is it fuchsia? Is it fuchsia or
Yes,
fuchsia?
everyone knows. Yeah, fuchsia.
Fuchsia.
We are way past. We are just
What is
past
the
half.
first? When?
What was the
What's
first
the
bit?
first? Who is listening like a moron? Who is listening like a moran?
It's Ruby.
First DevFest is very easy question. Very easy question.
Hey,
Because it was not very far ago. Not a long time
some
ago.
of us have died, have given up.
shows that most people are just guessing.
Upcoming artists.
9 out of 14.
Multi-select again. How many?
DevFest Kenya events.
3.
Started yesterday, or did it?
Did it?
Did it or did it not? Didn't it?
Ruby, it's supposed to be 3 days. Today's day 2. Why you?
Oh my goodness! My internet connection just disappeared. Village people, if you're praying for me to lose this game,
Ruby,
praying for me to lose
they
this
first
game.
yesterday. Ruby, they first started yesterday. Today's day 2.
The first keynote actually is in 5 minutes. So the first starts today. Yesterday was the WTM.
See God of Shadrach, God of Abednego.
Tabi, your question now. Your question.
I don't know.
I don't even know any of this.
I don't know JavaScript. In fact, I'm a disgrace to the JavaScript community.
Ruby, you're not here, baby. You shall not see heaven. Maybe you're doing us.
What did I do? I told you my Kahoots are on fire.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm still leading.
So we are like 5 questions. We have 5 questions to go. Which is older? Which is older?
What question is
Which is older? Yeah?
Trick question.
Yep, very tricky.
If we die, we die.
What? I thought PHP is older.
PHP looks like ancient Mesopotamia.
I swear.
That's why I put the question here. So
Ruby. Fine.
Sorry, very sorry.
We are going down and down.
We are 3 questions left.
Next.
So these are the questions that will determine whether we let Chizaram win or we will.
First name of Google. What is first name?
Whoa,
Give me something answer.
Whoa, picky phone.
What is it? I don't know.
Chris Masolai, I see you.
Just picky ponky.
Hey God, what is this? What is this madness? Alela, you didn't even tell me the answer to this.
Surely. I have died.
Backrab.
I gave up. Basically.
Guys.
We are just like that. No one has gone anywhere.
You okay? This is the first Kenya, so you need to know Kenyan startup. Imagine. which of these is not in Kenya? Which of these is not a startup in Kenya?
What is a startup in the first place?
Trick
Me, I only,
question.
me, I only know Twiga Foods because of bananas.
Yay! It's Safaricom.
Safaricom is not a
It's not a
startup.
startup. It's an already
I,
established company.
I
Guy.
see. I see someone is still getting shocked.
Last
Someone is still.
question, double points. So answer this one very
True
fast.
or
Why
false?
5 GDGs?
True or false?
Today.
True or false? True or false? Double points. You answer very fast to get double points. So today's DevFest consists of 5 GDGs. True or false?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
people always think.
Today's DevFest consists of 6 GDGs, not 5 GDGs. So
See,
yeah.
there
So
you match us by the way.
what GDGs do we have? We have GDG Nairobi, GDG Kisumu,
GDG
Eldoret,
Mombasa.
GDG Mombasa. We
And tell
have
us your
GDG
city.
where I come from. Yes?
GDG Kitchen.
The last, which is the last GDG? GDG Kisi or GDG Vixen? We have GDG.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
GDG
Like,
Kisi.
like what you
You
guessing?
already said that one.
Let's see who our winners are.
Devon Beach.
So I'm from Jefferson. This Kahoot was hosted at Jefferson.
Gerald.
Gerald.
She's around. My guy. Peace, y'all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to our winners.
Who's Gerald?
Yeah, Stephen, you live to fight another day. So you didn't win.
Yeah, we still need to
We'll
fight
have
another day.
Kahoot either later in the day or tomorrow morning. So stay tuned. Tell you more about it.
I mean, like I just have one more thing
So
to
much
say.
fun.
One more thing to say. For the people who thought I had more Kenya, I'm sorry. Like this is my brain, my intelligence. I did not know I was gifted. I think DevFest is the thing for me because I've been winning this thing from yesterday to today.
I mean, remember we won the 2019 Kahoots.
We need to fight another day.
I know. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thanks a
guys,
lot,
for
Thank you so
participating in
much
the game. Yeah, I think now we're going to head over right to the keynote. Yeah. Goodbye from us.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See
See ya.
see you on web with Sabi. Bye.
Hello and welcome to DevFest 2020. I'm Jason Titus, VP of Engineering at Google, joining you from my home in California. Each year, we at Google truly feel the anticipation for DevFest. It's a one-of-a-kind series of developer conferences, and we're glad you can join us and the local developers within your community. Your local DevFest event this weekend is one of hundreds taking place all around the world right at this moment. Now, what makes DevFest truly unique is that it's run by volunteer community organizers on a mission to help other local developers grow and share a passion for Google technologies. Now, 2020 has been a year of radical change for people across the globe. But when difficult times came about, developers within this community came together online to plan a virtual DevFest where each local chapter can participate, helping each other teach and learn when we need to connect the most. And these connections can be so important. I can remember the first developer conferences I went to, where I met people who were already doing the kinds of things I dreamed of doing. They had started companies, built products, and I got to hear the stories of what had worked and what had gone wrong. And we hope that all of you will get to have similar experiences at DevFest this year. At Google, we've always believed that we're only successful when all of our users are successful. While Google and its products may plant a seed, it's developers like yourself who make the seeds grow and thrive. This community of developers has shown us firsthand how you're using technology to help each other during times of need. Let me introduce you to my teammate David to share with you some great examples. Welcome, David.
Hi, Jason. Thank you. And welcome everybody to this year's DevFest season. I'm David McLaughlin, Director of Developer Ecosystems at Google. So I've been with DevFest since the very first year in 2010, when I was able to join a large percentage of them. Back then, they were a series of targeted events in just a handful of countries. In the years since then, we've had massive growth to countries all over the world. While I really do miss being able to join many of you in person this year, I'm happy to be able to continue this celebration of developers and tech in a new virtual format and bring people together to learn and to share what we're all building. Over the years, it's been great to see the apps and the solutions the broader community has built with the support of their local GDG chapters. We now have thousands and thousands of developers who are working to address real-world problems in their local communities. Particularly during the challenging times of COVID, I'm impressed by how much your work has made people's lives better. There's a few recent examples that truly stand out to me. Community developers from GDG West Sweden recently worked with the Swedish government to create Hack the Crisis, an event focused on designing, testing, and executing ideas in response to recent challenges. One of the finalists, named Remote and Gigs, helped modernize the Swedish government's employment website to match job seekers with remote work. Nearby in Romania, GDG groups organized a hackathon, gathering 270 different mentors and students from across 8 different countries. The hackathon brought together developers to save lives, to save communities, and to save businesses. Some of the winners included an online platform that connected volunteers with nonprofits across the region, a system to help doctors work with each other and to ease online consultations, and a personal assistant for health and nutrition tracking. Another cool app that they developed was Risk Alert, an app that alerts emergency rooms that a patient with a very rare disease can prepare for. GDG initiated the mask inventory map at the start of COVID-19, which crowdsources mask inventory from local store data, combining it with the Google Maps API. The project was so popular that it caught the attention of Taiwan's government, inspiring them to publish public data APIs on mass inventory minister machine learning with TensorFlow and GC to help their community with an app that remotely analyzes dental health and helps patients book at-home dental services. They've had over 300 trained images so far, and the developer community is working with local universities to gather more than 50,000 dental images to improve the application. In the Middle East, the region's largest International Women's Day event was held in April in Turkey by multiple GDG groups working together. They had over 2,500 attendees to the event, which included a raffle for online courses and talks in artificial intelligence and data mining. The event helped women across the community and across the region learn and apply their skills. And of course, here in the United States, the GDG Memphis chapter has joined GiveCamp, where software developers in the area donate their skills for nonprofits, as well as helping kids learn to code on the weekends. These are just a small sample of the ways that Google Developer Group chapters and communities like yours all over the world are learning together and giving back what they've learned to really help people's lives everywhere be better. I encourage all of you to continue, be in community with your fellow developers. Think about how can you use the skills and the tech that you're learning this weekend at DevFests, as well as the networks and the communities that you form, the new friends that you make. How do you combine all of these to make a difference in your own area? Now let's take a look at a really inspiring story from Uganda. It shows how a community member started learning about machine learning and ended up building a really nifty app using TensorFlow that detects diseases in plants and helps farmers reduce crop devastation. Take a look.
Growing up in the city, I never expected to work in agriculture. But when fall armyworm attacked, it affected us all. Since its arrival in 2016, this crop pest has caused massive devastation. Our farm lost everything.
Tubadde tukozesako ddagala okulaba nti akako okulya ki kasooli naye akantu ako tekayinza kumalawo obulwadde obwo ssebo.
So I wanted to use my skills as a software developer to help. At a Google Study Jam, we taught ourselves TensorFlow. We started by building an Android app on top of an open source API. The app allows farmers to spot infestations early, far beyond the capability of human eyes, and suggest an effective treatment. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But then I discovered app development, and I was excited to show people something they never thought possible. Machine learning gives us the advantage against fall armyworm, ultimately saving harvests and reducing pesticides.
Kunkyusizaamu kubanga taata oba jjajja teyalina ennyumba y'ebbaati. N'ebbaati nazimba ennyumba yange nga tetoonya. Tulina essuubi ne tufuna embeera ennungi mu kulima.
We are just getting started, and there are so many other sectors like health and education that machine learning could really improve. Farming is a crucial aspect of life in Uganda, and I feel proud I'm part of a team driving to ensure our culture can continue.
Earlier, you saw a beautiful inspirational video about how machine learning and Android were used to create an app to detect crop diseases. So, for DevFest, I wanted to get together a few of my friends from Google and beyond to show you how you could get started in building something just like that from scratch in a few minutes. We'll build an Android app and a web app. So to get started with Android, let's see what Chet can teach us.
I want to create an app that's able to recognize information about plants. It's going to need camera functionality as well as machine learning inference.
And display the results. That we create, which has this on-capture success function. We get the received image into the format we need for MLKit, Then we create an image labeler object and process the image. When this succeeds, we receive a collection of image labels, which we turn into text strings and display a toast with the results. Let's see what the demo looks like. So we'll take a picture, and it says, I see an insect and a plant.
So that was pretty easy, rigging up CameraX and MLKit to detect arbitrary objects in the camera view. But the results were pretty generic because the dataset didn't have enough information about our domain. So let's dig a little deeper.
Okay, let's go deeper. Now we need a model for something very specific, detecting diseases in bean plants instead of cassava. Let's explore how to build it. On this guide, we'll use some of the great TensorFlow tooling available. Let's start with Colab. You can understand Colab as a cloud-hosted development tool. We will do all our coding on it, and you will not need to install anything on your machine. Let's start with a new notebook. Let's just turn the title to beans. We will need to install some packages that we are going to use later. These packages are not installed on your machine. They are on a cloud machine that was created for your Colab. Nice, it finished installing the packages. Let's download the data and do some visualization to understand how our data is separated. Perfect. We download the data. Let's take a look on some of the images so we can have a better understanding of what we are doing here. Here they are. These are some of the images that will be used for training our model later. Now we have the data. We need to create a model. We are not going to create one from scratch. We are going to use a technique called transfer learning. TensorFlow Hub is a repository for TensorFlow models. You can find all kinds of models here. Let's start with this one. Let's go back to our Colab. Let's define a model handle. Nice. Now we have the data and the base model. How can we do transfer learning? To do that, we are going to use one of the tooling that I mentioned before called Model Maker. Model Maker makes your life way easier when you need to do transfer learning. Let's create the spec for our base model. Let's create our train variables here using the dataset beans that we've just seen. And now we are going to put everything together with Model Maker by defining a model with the training data and the spec that we got from TensorFlow Hub. This will take a couple of minutes. It finished training. And as you can see here, our accuracy is at 87%. Of course, let's evaluate the model with some data it didn't see yet and see how good it is. Nice, 95%.
The TensorFlow Lite model Gus just created contains all the metadata Android Studio needs to recognize it and automatically build classes for it. To get started, you can update your build.gradle file to include the following TensorFlow Lite dependencies. Then, you'll want to import your generated TF-Lite file into the ML folder of your project. Let's check out the details of our imported model. From here, we can see an example of how to use the model in our app. Let's move over to the main activity class to take advantage of it. Inside of our image capture callback, here on line number 78, we create an instance of our model. Next, we use it to process the captured image here on line number 84. And finally, here on lines 92 through 98, we display the results of consuming the output inside of a toast message. Let's run our app. Now, instead of telling us it's looking at a leaf or a plant, it can actually tell us if it's looking at a bean leaf and give a diagnosis. Sweet.
This concept but very much a comes in. Now, the new and improved Firebase plugin in Android Studio makes this simple. I'll start by adding
analytics so I can find out exactly how you recorded several of these select content events, and I can dig into these event properties and see what kinds of results our users are getting, and I could start using that information to maybe refine my MLKit model or A/B test different alternatives. Firebase helps you build better apps, and analytics is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Maybe we could let our users upload their own pictures and store them in the cloud using cloud storage for Firebase. There's so many possibilities.
This is a sample app, but if we were to productize this, it's important to keep in mind how our AI design decisions impact our users. For instance, we need to consider if and/or how it makes sense to display confidence intervals to help your users interpret the ML model output. Or say how you design the onboarding experience sets user expectations for the capabilities and limitations of your ML-based app, which is vital to app adoption and engagement. For more guidance on AI design decisions, check out the People Plus AI Guidebook at pair.withgoogle.com/guidebook. This use case focuses on plant diseases, but for other use cases where our ML-based predictions intersect with people or communities, we absolutely need to think about responsible AI themes like privacy and fairness, which you can learn more about at tensorflow.org/resources/responsible-AI.
And don't forget about the web. I built a PWA that can be installed across all your users' platforms. It combines the web camera with TensorFlow.js, and by integrating machine learning, we can make an amazing experience that runs across all browsers. Now let's take a look. We have our standard project layout with a HTML file, a manifest, and a service worker to make it a PWA. We have some styles to make it look good, and our data folder that contains our TensorFlow configuration and trained model that we're going to use in the app. Now to the heart of the project. Let's go back to the HTML file and see what's happening. We're also loading a webcam object. This is just a class that wraps some boilerplate logic to make it easier to pass camera data from getUserMedia to TensorFlow. And now let's dive into our app logic in index.js. So I'm just going to use Chrome and the debugger here. And this is only so you can kind of see how easy it is to integrate machine learning into your application. So let's get started by clicking the classify button, get the machine learning gears into action, and immediately we break into the TensorFlow tidy function. This is just there to help you kind of clean up any of the memory that TensorFlow uses whilst it makes a prediction. We get our image from the web camera, and then we pass our image back into the machine learning algorithm to make it a prediction. Then once we've gotten prediction, we access the data, and then we can use that data to update the user interface kind of based on any application logic that we want. And that's pretty much it.
Great. So now you have the platform for building a real app. With the tooling from Android Studio, the APIs from CameraX, Jetpack, MLKit, Colab, TensorFlow, Firebase, Chrome, and Google Cloud, you have a lot of things that just work better together. This isn't a finished project by any means, just a proof of concept for how a minimum viable product with a roadmap to completion can be put together using Google's developer tools and APIs.
You might also want to open source this project too, so developers can suggest improvements, optimizations, and even additional features by filing an issue or sending a pull request. It's a great way to get your hard work in front of even more people. We'd love to help you with this, and you can learn more about the process at opensource.guide/startingaproject. Indeed, we've already open sourced the bean disease sample we discussed in this video, so you can have a great place to start.
Thanks, Pooja. And as you mentioned, open sourcing a project is a great way to make it grow and inspire people to adopt and extend it. If you want to learn more about what you've seen in this video, please visit us at developers.google.com.
Hi, developers. My name is Annie Jean-Baptiste, and I'm the head of product inclusion at Google. The demo you just saw shows how Google's products can come together to create an amazing app. But what about product inclusion? You may be wondering, well, what is product inclusion and why is it important? At Google, we believe that giving power to new voices is the core of innovation. When we bring an inclusive lens to the product design process, we amplify underrepresented voices and allow all users to feel seen and validated in the moments that matter for them. We look beyond ourselves and seek out diverse voices to shape the products that we build. We also believe that we have a responsibility not to disappoint our users, no matter who they are, what they look like, how much money they make, who they love, how old they are, or anything that makes them them. And when we make difference the new normal, We will usher in new opportunities to grow our business by earning the love of all of our users. So whether you're 1 or 105 years old, live in a city or a remote village, on Wi-Fi or cellular service, Google is there for you to make sure you have the answers you need when you need them. Product inclusion is exactly what it sounds like, bringing an inclusive lens throughout the entire product design process to create more inclusive products for our users. And so when you're developing your own apps, I challenge you to incorporate the principles of product inclusion into the design process, because we believe that you can do well and do good by being intentional about including underrepresented voices at key points in the product design process. Remember, those closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. You can learn more about product inclusion at Google by visiting accelerate.withgoogle.com. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Cole, and I'm the Global Developer Communities Program Manager at Google. Now it's time to meet and hear from your local developers. So, what can you expect next from your local DevFest? We'll have technical talks, breakout sessions, networking opportunities, and more. These sessions will cover a variety of technologies, such as Android, Google Cloud Platform, machine learning with TensorFlow, web, Firebase, Google Assistant, and Flutter, with speakers from Google, women tech makers, Google developer experts, and your local community. Be sure to claim your badge for participating in DevFest 2020 by going to google.dev/DevFest2020. You can earn even more badges by mastering different Google technologies available on developers.google.com/learn. As a reminder, one of the most important parts of DevFest is providing an inclusive and harassment-free experience for everyone. As an active participant of DevFest, today, we can all agree to treat everyone with respect and to speak up if we see or experience harassment of any kind. Together, we can create an environment that is welcoming and inclusive to everyone with us here today. Follow @GDG on Twitter for highlights from DevFest around the world, and try out the DevFest AR filter and avatar. Share what you're learning or your favorite part about the event on social media with #DevFest. And lastly, don't forget community is all about getting to know one another. Use the virtual breakout rooms and chat feature to connect with other developers near you with shared interests. We hope you enjoyed DevFest 2020.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alala Eunice, and I am super excited to just be attending DevFest virtually because we all understand what has been happening. And yeah, so for today's session, we are going to be having amazing speakers, amazing tech talks, and we just hope that this is going to be inspiring and open up various minds and stuff like that. So as said, my name is Alela Eunice, Community Manager for the Google Developer Experts Program for Sub-Saharan Africa. And I am going to be telling you about the agenda for the day, what to expect, and the type of speakers that we have. So first and foremost, we are going to be having a GDG keynote from one of our longtime, I was about to say oldest, but one of our longtime organizers. His name is Sigu Magwe. So just jump in to hear about what communities have come together to bring this together and what GDGs are all about when it comes to Kenya and maybe out of Kenya. Next, we're going to be having our keynote, who's also from Google. His name is Chris Kiagiri. So he'll be joining us to just share with us insights on his journey and stuff like that. Following that, we're going to be having 3 specific keynotes for web, Android, and cloud, all from people who we believe have experience in Android, cloud, and web, and are going to be able to just share their knowledge with all of us. Following that, we are going to jump into our breakout sessions. So assuming this was going to be in person, we still have the breakout sessions. So you're not going to be missing out on anything. And the breakout sessions have been classified under cloud, web, Android, machine learning / blockchain / any other thing that you want to learn about. Following that, there is not DevFest without an after party if it's virtual. I will solve that. So I am learning that we can even have parties even if it's not in person. So you can move to the Discord platform and just enjoy yourself, party as much as you have. We have DJ Tabby and DJ Ruben there. playing for us the music and doing stuff like that. So super excited to be having this DevFest. And the hashtag for the day is DevFest Kenya, or just hashtag DevFest. Don't forget to tweet. Don't forget to share the amazing insights that you have gathered, and feel at home, because communities are our second home for some of us. Great. So next up on stage, we are going to be having Sigu Magwa, as mentioned. Hi, Sigu.
Hey, Alela, that was a great introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. So thank you very much for that. Can I just kick it in?
Yes, you
can. I get started?
Oh, yes,
All right.
you can.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. So today I'm going to talk to you about GDG. So let me just quickly start sharing my screen. Do screen share, allow, share that. Then we do this. I do a presentation. Hopefully you can see my screen. Okay. So let's talk about GDGs today. I have about 5 minutes to tell you about this or less. So the first thing, let's do a guess. How many GDGs do you think are here? If you're on the Kahoot game, you probably know the answer. Take a second. Okay, great. So we have GDG Eldoret organizing this event. That's number one. Number two, we have GDG Kisii helping us in here. I think you also saw Anne during the introduction and during the Kahoot session. We have GDG Kisumu. This was the DevFest last year. It was an awesome one. GDG Mombasa represented here. If you're from Mombasa, please chat in there. Just comment over there. I haven't seen anyone from Mombasa, but there are people from Masu already here. This is GDG Nairobi. And we have GDG Nyeri. So how many GDGs do you have? There are 6 that are organizing this particular event. Go onto the chat over YouTube. Tell us which GDG you belong to. Tell us which GDG you belong to. So despite all that has been happening, the COVID and all that, GDG groups have managed to actually come together and still organize for events. So there has been an Android event that was online in July. There was another cloud event online in September. There was an AMP one and a TensorFlow Dev Summit. This will be unfair if I don't explain what GDG is actually at this moment. So it's a Google developer group. It should be the next slide. Yes. So if you join any Google developer group, then you have the opportunity to meet local developers who have similar interests in technology. That is the awesome thing about joining these particular groups. And if you want to join the group, click on that link, or I'll give you a minute or so just to copy that link. It's gdg.community.dev. Go over there and join. DevFest and GDG is a group that organizes DevFest and so many other meetups. The best thing about coming to these events is you get to meet amazing people. You get to expand your network. I've seen someone talking about and asking if there's any company hiring in Flutter. If you are part of the GDG group, then you'll easily get through to such people. It's easy for you to get through to the companies and to those people who use Google products. So thank you very much. Have fun, learn, and enjoy this session. Thank you. Was I muted?
Chris, you're on mute. So as we are waiting for the keynote video to come up, it would be good to just get to hear how are you feeling, the vibe right now. So I know it's an early morning for most of us. Personally, I'm like, it is 10:21 on a Saturday and I am awake. So what are some of the expectations that you have for today's session? What are some of the things that you want us to talk about? So just feel free to share it on the chat section and we're going to be highlighting that. Okay, so we have, let's hear, what are some of the feelings that you have? Like, what's the feeling in the room? Are you excited? Are you thrilled? Are you just anxious? You want to be like, what am I going to learn today? Or are you like, okay, this is the day for me. So share with us what you feel, how you want the mood to be for the day. We are just waiting for the keynote video to come up, but you can share how you feel, share some of the learnings that you have learned from the video that played before, to now hearing from the GDG organizer, Sigu Magwa, and just telling us, like, this is, personally for me, I am excited because this is my first virtual DevFest. In the 5 years that I have attended DevFest, this is the first virtual one. And I'm like, there's no swag, okay, but I'm still going to learn. So I think that's really important. So like, share with us how you feel. What are some of the learnings that you have made so far? I am going to be highlighting them. Let's go. Come on, I'm super excited. We have Tabitha joining from Akwa Ibom. Okay, and she's loving it already. We have Paula from Eldoret. We have Uncle Awal with us. He is called the SSA GDG Daddy. So we have him here with us. And there's somebody who's hoping Sigu is going to come back. Awal is saying hello to everyone, and Gaty says, tell us how virtual DevFest feels for me. So for me personally, virtual DevFest, I feel it's still the same because I still get to interact with amazing speakers. I still get to hear about what Google does for our communities, what are some of the new technologies that have been released. And I feel like I still get to learn, which is basically my main purpose for attending DevFest. So I am still excited. And it is crying, there's no pilau. Make for us jollof rice and we will be attending DevFest in person. We have friends from Nigeria joining. We have Richie joining from Nairobi, and he says he's happy to be here and he's learning to learn more about opportunities out here for cloud engineers. Richie, you better stay tuned for the cloud breakout session, for the cloud keynote by Obina. So you will learn a lot. Come on, tell us about how you're feeling. I'm just waiting for the video to come up, but we still can get to know a lot. Okay.
Good morning. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to DevFest Kenya. While the energy of being together in the same room is difficult to replicate virtually, I'm thankful because this virtual mode allows me to join you from California, where it is currently midnight on Friday night. For those of you that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Chris Kiageri. I've been with Google for a little over 15 years. 2.5 years in the US, and then 8.5 years in Kenya with Joe Mushero, and now 4.5 years in the US again. And it is a distinct honor for me to be able to share this time and this space with all of you. As I was considering what to say to all of you this morning, two thoughts came to my mind. Number one, with Google celebrating its 22nd birthday just last month, it occurred to me that there are a good number of you who may be younger than Google. I therefore cannot assume that you have all witnessed the history of this company as it has evolved since the early years. Number two, it struck me that you all represent the largest cohort of Google technology enthusiasts in Kenya. You are the developers. You are the power users. You are the coders. You are the influencers. So although we do have a Google Kenya office where I used to be based, and where Akina John and Eunice and Benson now sit, in many ways, you all are Google in Kenya. That means that although I have a few things that I could share about my perspective on Google in Kenya, you are the ones who are truly living out what it means for Google to be in Kenya. And so with that in mind, I thought it might be more useful for me to shed some light on Kenya in Google. I'm therefore going to attempt to do 3 things in the 20 or so minutes that we have together, based on the unique vantage point that I have. I'm going to try and tell the story of Google in Kenya, but even more importantly, the story of Kenya in Google. I will try to interweave that with a historical timeline of the early days of the company, as well as a bit of my own personal story from the past decade and a half, working at this place that has changed the world and continues to touch the lives of billions of people every day, including each one of us. Sawa sawa. Haya. Google was founded in 1998 by Larry Page and Sergey Brin, who are graduate students of the same university where I was a student at the time. So let me just pause and say a word to university students, those of you who pass. As the Bible says, let no one despise your youth. Whichever company or organization that you'll end up being a part of, whether as an employee or as an entrepreneur, that company may not exist today. I often marvel when I think of how, when I was sitting for my KCSE exam at Starehe Boys Center, this company that I've now been with for the last 15 years did not yet exist. For those of you who are old enough to remember the 1998 US Embassy bomb blast, Google did not yet exist when that happened. And even when I joined university, Google still did not yet exist. What's my point? My point is that the company or organization that you'll one day be a part of may not yet exist. So don't look out on the landscape today and think that it represents the totality of what's available to you. Take heart. Keep building your skills. Your presence here today tells me that you are already doing that, because you've chosen to spend a good part of your weekend here at DevFest Kenya to expand your vision of what's possible, to gain new knowledge, and also to connect with other like-minded members of this growing, vibrant community. The mission that Larry and Sergey chose from the beginning was to organize the world's information and to make it universally accessible and useful. Our current CEO, Sundar Pichai, frequently reminds us as employees how fortunate we are to have such a timeless mission. The amount of information to organize has grown exponentially since that mission statement was first formulated. An astonishing 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 2 years alone. Stop and think about that. I'll say that again. 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 2 years alone. Google processes over 3.5 billion search queries every single day. If you calculate that per minute, and actually per second, it's 40,000 queries per second. Large numbers. Now, for the first 5 years of Google's existence, there were no Kenyans among Google's first 3,000 employees. The first Kenyan at Google was hired in 2003 and was based in London, which was a small sales office at that time. It was only a 2-year-old office. It is the same year that Google AdSense was launched. Up until that point, there was just search on google.com and AdWords, which was the ads that used to appear on google.com. But then in 2003, AdSense launched. AdSense allowed websites to monetize traffic by displaying Google ads on those websites. And so I became the second Kenyan to join the company in January of 2005 on a contract for the first year, and then as a full-time employee ever since. I was also the first Kenyan to be hired into a technical role. By the time I joined, the company had started to expand beyond search and advertising. So Gmail, Google Books, Google Scholar had just launched. There were about 4,000 employees at Google headquarters, which is where I was based. There was no Google Maps, no Google Earth, no YouTube, no Android when I joined. All of those launched during my first year with the company. I was a corporate operations engineer, which is part of Google's internal IT division. And during my first couple of years, I quickly learned that Kenya was not a stranger to Google. We had visits to Google headquarters by a number of prominent Kenyans, such as Wangari Maathai, who visited a year and a half after she had won the Nobel Peace Prize. There's a picture of me there on the slide with her during that visit. The following year, the Kenya government sent a delegation led by Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, who was the Minister for ICT at the time. So they came and visited Google headquarters as well. Within that same time period, in late 2006, a Google delegation undertook a tour of several countries in Africa, including Senegal, Ghana, Rwanda, and of course, Kenya. There, they met with government officials, NGOs, academia, multinationals, telcos, ISPs, entrepreneurs, investors, all to explore the feasibility of setting up a local presence somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. I can still vividly remember attending the talk that they gave in early 2007 when they presented their findings after that trip. And I was thrilled when they indicated that Nairobi was the leading contender for the first Google office in sub-Saharan Africa. You have to remember that this was long before the first submarine cables landed in Mombasa. There was no Teams cable, no CCOM, no Easy, which means that all outbound internet traffic from Kenya was via satellite at the time. For all of you networking folks, connecting via satellite meant a minimum 600 millisecond hop that could not be overcome based on the laws of physics. So Google saw an opportunity to deploy proxy machines or cache servers within local ISPs and exchange points in order to optimize routing of Google traffic. Later that year, 2007, when Joe Mosheru was hired as the first Google employee to be based in sub-Saharan Africa, I got to meet him during his onboarding in the US. And long story short, that led to me becoming the second Googler here as the technical lead in Kenya. The first local team that we hired and built up was the Google Maps team. That was quickly followed by a localization team. But beyond the work of those two teams, it was very clear that Google's approach would be driven by partnerships. And so the very first partnership that we signed in Kenya was with Keynote to deploy Google Apps, which is now known as Google Workspace, for universities. The second project I worked on was deploying those Google Global Cache servers at local ISPs. Due to the high latency of satellite connections, this helped to cache video traffic so that after the first viewer in Kenya fetches a particular video, all subsequent viewers of the same video in Kenya would be served from the local cache with low latency and without buffering. Some of you might remember in those days, we used to open a YouTube video and immediately hit pause. We would let it buffer. And then once the buffering was almost complete, we would unpause it in order to watch the whole video without interruptions due to buffering. How times have changed. And so at this point, 5 years since the first Kenyan joined Google, now for the first time, we had more Kenyan Googlers in Nairobi than in the rest of the world. That was an exciting milestone. You'll see here that I've stopped the timeline at 2008 because that's when the Google Africa blog launched. So you can always go and read the archives of all that happened since then. It's the 5 years before that, whose history it's harder to come by. Now, not everything we worked on during those days was successful. From Google Baraza to Google Trader to Beba Pay, there were multiple initiatives that we tried, got some initial traction on, but later decided not to continue with. In each of those cases, The key was to make sure that we were constantly learning. You've probably heard the well-known quote by Henry Ford, in which he says that the only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. And so that's my second admonition to all of you. Failure is only failure if you don't learn from it. Whatever it is that you are currently working on, whatever the outcome, make sure you're not missing the lessons along the way. Learn to fail forward. If you're not familiar with that term, fail forward, Google it. Failing forward is how you learn. It's how you innovate. It's how you build resilience. It is the art of turning a failure into a benefit for the future. Keep getting better at being a student of your failures. Identify where you went wrong, learn from it, and then move on, either by trying again or by trying something different. That is how you turn your setbacks into future successes. On a personal level, when I returned to the US, I was able to use my experience with BebaPay to join the Android Pay team and be part of transitioning it to become Google Pay, expanding it from Android so that it now includes iOS as well as the web. There were various lessons learned from BebaPay that inspired some functionality. So Google Pay now includes various localized integrations, such as leveraging the Unified Payments Interface, UPI, in India, and there's more to come. Bringing it closer to home, payments remains a large opportunity space, as you all know. I'm sure we've heard the exciting news this week about Paystack. Earlier this year, Google joined the open source digital payments initiative called Mojaloop to provide a reference model for payment interoperability to overcome barriers that have slowed the spread of digital financial services. And I hope that there are many of you here today who have seen the project on GitHub, and that some of you are plugged into that effort, along with Akina Simeon Orico and the rest of the community over there. If not, be sure to check out mojaloop.io. All right, enough about my story. Today, the Kenyan community within Google is well over 100 Googlers in over 10 countries around the world. From software engineers to product managers, from legal to finance, from sales to marketing, from Android to YouTube, from hardware to payments, data center operations, Google Cloud, there are Kenyan Googlers on all of these teams that I've mentioned. And it's not an exhaustive list. And this does not even include our Kenyan colleagues in other Alphabet companies, including Loon, Waymo, Capital G, and Verily. So in one sense, Kenya has already come to Google in a big way. Yet, you know what will really bring Kenya to Google? It's all of you. All of you. This past month, we've seen over 47,000 sessions on developers.google.com from Kenya, representing over 26,000 unique users or developers. We are seeing lots of activity from you around AdMob and web, a bit of reCAPTCHA, OAuth, Maps, Android, AdSense. Hii ni maendeleo. But I'm sure we all know that this is nowhere near our full potential. There is so much that we can still build together. Just to pick one example, machine learning. It's a big area of opportunity today. Some of you may already have seen the video that was published around this time last year, telling the story of how Tambua Health has used TensorFlow to help doctors detect respiratory diseases using machine learning. But because it's such a good story, and I'm sure there's some of you who haven't seen it yet, allow me to play it for you.
Sound analysis is used in so many fields. such as identification of music and the identification of the type of animal based on the sounds that they produce. Sound is critical to what we're doing because physiological sounds are very important in medicine, but the traditional stethoscope hasn't changed for close to 200 years. The doctor is limited by the human ear and they cannot hear specific frequencies. This method is very inaccurate and causes a lot of misdiagnosis. Our mission is to use machine learning and TensorFlow to revolutionize the diagnosis and treatment of respiratory diseases in low-resource areas such as sub-Saharan Africa. The Tambua app is a powerful screening tool that helps doctors make decisions quickly. The core technology is trying to mimic the human auditory system. Once the patient walks in, the doctor collects the lung sounds with symptoms, risk factors, and vitals of the patient. And then the Tambua app combines all that information and gives the doctor a probability of the patient having a specific respiratory disease. Eric introduced TensorFlow to us because he felt that we can use TensorFlow to go through all the stages of development to deployment of our model.
Our model uses spectrograms. We take sound data from the digital stethoscope and convert it into a visual problem that the computer can best identify. We have worked with a number of clinics and pathologists, and we are able to collect data from 621 patients, and then we use that data now to build a machine learning model.
Once we had trained and evaluated our machine learning model, we deployed it on our Tambua app. TensorFlow Lite helps us to perform an inference on a mobile device without the need of a connection. So doctors can use the Tambua app offline without connecting to the cloud. There are 216 healthcare facilities that are using the Tambua app and the Tambua devices. These clinics are spread out and some are very rural clinics.
It's really a nice project. I can elicit a call plus the vital sounds. Then when I add the clinical history and the other physical examination, there's no need for me to take this patient for an X-ray. Misdiagnosis, which is one of the problems leading to deaths in Kenya, is really creating a menace. Tambua is helping me. It shows me even the things that I would have missed in case I had the traditional way of doing it.
Over 2.5 million people die each year because of pneumonia, asthma, COPD, and pulmonary tuberculosis. I believe that we can use machine learning in treatment and management of these respiratory diseases.
Hello everyone, how is DevFest Kenya so far? I hope you are enjoying it. And as Alela had mentioned before, we're going to be having keynotes on Android, web, and cloud. And so at this particular point in time, I would like to welcome Murat, who is going to be delivering the Android keynote. Welcome, Murat.
Hi. Hi, I'm super happy to be here. It's getting pretty late, about 1 a.m. here, and I started the day early, actually, talking in another DevFest. So hopefully I'll have enough energy to finish this talk. Once again, I'm super happy to be here. And let's start with what's new in Android. So I'll do, because I have very little time, I'll do a very quick recap. If you're interested in one topic, you can check the links I'll share in the last slides and learn more about it. Also, there are lots of topics, so I'm not going to talk about all, but some of the major ones I picked for today. I'll talk about the new stuff in some categories. First, we start with the platform updates. Then I'll talk a bit about tools and finally libraries. First, with Android 11, the window insets API is significantly improved. A lot of old APIs methods are deprecated, and there are new APIs. Basically, now you can get more information about what's on screen and you can add a listener and get notified about and check what if the window is visible or what the other status the window might have. This IME, this window in sets changes are mostly done to support IME animations. With IME animations now, you can offer better integration with the keyboard animations, and your app can react to how keyboard moves. This is happening by two different ways. You can either listen for changes and act according to that, or you can drive the keyboard animation directly and have full control on what's going on. So for each option, you have an API. You can use window inset animation callback to add a callback and get notified, or you can use the window insets animation controller to drive the animation. Next API, conversations. Conversations about showing people in UI. So if you long press a setting, you get information about the conversation. You can change the priorities, alerts, how the notification reacts. And as you change the settings, it will change the priority and ordering of the notification. And to use the Conversations API, you need to create a new person object, then use a long-lived shortcut, use this shortcut. One thing you need to be careful is you must be using the messaging style for this conversation as the style, and you build your notification. Next to Conversations API, we have bubbles, so you can interact with the app anywhere on screen. You might be asking, some apps already was doing that, so what's new with that? So actually, the Bubbles API is all new. The previous implementations were actually based on another API called System Alert Window, which was not very good for that purpose. So we actually opened Bubbles as a developer option in Android 10, and with Android 11, they are here. Bubbles API is all built on Notifications API, so if you have a notification, you can easily use that to bubble up. You just need to add some more metadata. So to start with that, you need to have a dedicated activity for the bubble, because basically a bubble can use this activity anytime, anywhere, and it can be any size. So it needs to be a resizable activity. You create an intent, then use this intent and add your bubble metadata, and you use the notification API to add your bubble. Next, I'll briefly talk about privacy. So with Android 11, there's a new data access auditing API. So this is actually a common problem if you have a large code base which different teams are working on. Different teams are not familiar with what the other team is doing, and people can leave their jobs, but their code might be just staying there. So there's orphan code which uses some private data of the user, which actually you don't intend to. Or you might be using some third-party SDKs, which might be, again, accessing some data without your knowledge. So with data access auditing, basically, you can add callbacks, and you will be notified if user permission required data is accessed by any part in your app. It's pretty easy to use the API. You create a callback and then add that to AppOps Manager set on op noted callback. You can use this API synchronously or asynchronously. Another big change with Android 11 is one-time permissions. So probably you're familiar with that. Sometimes you need a permission for an app, but it's basically only for setup or one-time use, such as adding your credit card using the camera to a shopping app. This probably happens once or twice in the app lifecycle. So with one-time permissions, basically your app can request a permission for one time, and next time you need to ask for that permission again. The nice thing about this API is there's no changes, so the system handles that, so no work is necessary on your end. Of course, if you follow the best practices, basically you need to check if each time if you have the permission. And if you don't, you need to ask the user. Background location is changed a bit in Android 11, and it's becoming a bit more restrictive. So if your app needs to access location in the background, now you can't just ask this directly. First, you need to ask for foreground permission, and ideally you show the user why you need this permission, and then you ask for the background permission, which will take the user to settings screen. So you will basically ask your user to leave the app and go to settings to give this permission. That's why you need to show the user why you need the background permission. Foreground, there are new foreground services for camera and microphone. You can just add them in the manifest separately or together. And there are lots of other APIs. Package Manager has changed considerably. So if you're using Package Manager to access installed apps on the phone, there are changes which might affect you. Scoped storage is another big change, and auto reset permissions, which means if the app hasn't been used for a while, the system can reset the permissions of the app, and the app needs to go through the permission process again. Let's quickly recap the non-platform updates. Jetpack libraries are released every 2 weeks, and with the latest new releases, we have Hilt dependency injection, which is an easier way to use dependency injection, but built on full-strength Dagger. Paging is all rewritten with Kotlin and coroutines, Camera X beta, and there are tons of other libraries released. Another big update, probably you're all waiting to hear about, is Jetpack Compose. If you haven't heard about it before, it's a new UI toolkit for Android. It's reactive, Kotlin-based. It's in pre-alpha, developed in open, so you can go submit your feedback and be involved in the development process. Android Studio 4.2, with 4.2, there is Layout Inspector and Database Inspector. These are great tools to debug and find issues in your app. I especially love Database Inspector. You can just open your database as a spreadsheet and edit it as if you're editing a spreadsheet. It's amazing to see we can do that. And of course, wireless debugging is another interesting feature. So you don't need to carry wires anymore, and you can enable wireless debugging and start debugging your apps wirelessly while running the app on your device. So with that, thank you again. It's really my, I can't tell you how happy I'm to be part of this event, and I wish one day I can be there in person and do this again with a new version of Android.
That was amazing. So up next is the keynote by Obina for web. So Obina, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I share my screen. Hello everyone. Oh, I'm trying to find the screen.
Have you seen it?
Jill,
Let me just add it.
can you
Okay.
can you see? Oh, okay. Sharing the wrong
Yeah.
screen. My bad.
Okay, just
Can you see this now?
conversations with a skill developer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Um, hello everyone. So before I get to like the talk and everything, I want to start from this point, which is a conversation I had with a skill developer. And so it was just a casual talk, and we're chatting about like how we build products and how like we create applications for users with the web. And he was telling me a lot of things about scaling, about infrastructure, about performance. Like, he was saying a lot of things which really made sense at the time. But then I kept asking him, how do you make sure that you validate the processes for building for your user? Because at the end of the day, the reason we make products is to take care of the user, to build for the user. And he said, we did it. We do a lot of research. We do a lot of that and this and that. I'm like, okay, cool. So how do you like? I was waiting for him to say something which he didn't mention, and I was waiting for him to tell me how he made sure that the user actually benefited from this application the way he thought they did, which made me come up with this keynote. So imagine a world filled with empathy. Obviously, my name is Obina Ekuno, and I'm a software engineer at Gatsby. This photo you see here is very different from what you see currently on your screen, because like I'm letting my hair grow out, and let's just see how that goes. I'm a software engineer. I'm also a technical writer. I'm a culinary MDE, and my friends like to call me an accessibility nuisance. The reason for this is because I speak of accessibility from a point of view in a way that I feel like everyone should be implementing this in their applications. And also, just if you haven't heard, there's a lot of things going on in my home country. I'm from Lagos. I'm from Nigeria. I'm actually from Anambra, but I currently live in Lagos. So please, if you don't have so much context, please check out these hashtags and support the movement that we're trying to do. I really appreciate that. Before we go on, let's talk about the state of the web and its engineers today. So the way engineers build applications is we try to make high performant applications that will run on like high powered devices, low end devices. We try to scale. 8 out of 10 developers will tell you that, oh yeah, when we're building applications, we try to just really make it, we're trying to make the fastest thing with the resources we have, get our MVP out and everything. 8 out of 10 developers will tell you that accessibility is not so important and the beginning stages. And I disagree. Egghead put out a tweet and said, what current trends is currently being overlooked by developers? And Marcy Sutton, which is a really huge advocate for accessibility, she's so awesome. And I had the privilege of like working with her for a few months. She said, not a trend, but accessibility is frequently overlooked or forgotten despite our best efforts to educate and enlighten. Now, I want to break down this Marcy Sutton tweet as less than 280 characters and let you understand what's really going on. Most developers see accessibility as a trend. And when Marcy says, despite our best efforts, I see our as like a bunch of accessibility nuisances or like advocates such as myself trying to explain to the community and mostly wearing a t-shirt. I had a t-shirt that says accessibility is important. I'm really just trying to make people understand why it's important, which is what we're going to get into in this talk. So let me ask you, what do you think about when you hear accessibility on the web, in life, or in anything? Like, what do you think about? Most people think about, building, for disabled users, or users that, maybe you think of screen readers, you think of assistive technology, you think of people that are colorblind. This is what you think about. But I want to let you know that accessibility spans way more than that, into like everyday life. Think of like opening a door, for example. We have handles. The reason we have handles is because not a lot of people have that have a lot of control over their like motor reflexes to be able to turn those knobs. If you've ever been like old houses, you would see like the knobs that you turn to open the door, and you would realize that like most of the architectural designs or like stuff that we have in real life actually are created in a way that would put in some level of accessibility to make sure that a lot of people can use this. And my question is always, why don't we take those same principles and put it in the applications that we build? The reason that has come to my mind is because people only build what they like. We try to solve our own pain points. So when you think of it, you would solve something that would solve a problem that you think is a problem from your perspective. Why don't we try to think of accessibility or building products in a way that we try to build for our problem and every other person's problem? And I know you're wondering, how am I supposed to know what other people are thinking, Obina? Now, instead of focusing all your energy on trying to understand viewpoints on different people, why don't you ask questions, and let's think of like creating stuff universally, which brings me to my next point. Let's think about more universal approaches and less accessible methods. So what I mean by this is, for example, if you're building a house, you don't want to like, build a house with like, nice stairs, no ramp for like, so imagine if like you build a house with like nice stairs and everything, and you have like, it's a peng house. And I'm saying peng because a lady said, why is Obina looking so peng? I woke up like this at 80. But yeah, imagine if you had like the house and it's so neat, but then someday you couldn't walk up those flight of stairs because you're so tired. What if you had like a ramp where someone could just push you up, like a skateboard or something, or like a bicycle, or someone could push you up the stairs? So basically what I'm saying is, when you build applications, it's important to put yourself in different scenarios and try to build like a universal application that people would benefit from, regardless of their current situations, and also in some way you're building for yourself. Accessibility is not an add-on and should be treated as a fundamental part of development process, said every accessibility advocate. The reason for this is the community kind of sees accessibility and implementing web accessibility in web applications as, oh yeah, we'll get to that when we get there. We don't need that for an MVP. But to be honest, the little things that you do really go a long way in ensuring that your application is accessible to multiple users. A typical example is using semantic syntax, especially when building for the web. Like, for example, my story with accessibility was a kind of tricky one, because I started writing HTML5 without even understanding that I was writing code with semantic syntax. So it's important to like do the little things like add an alt tag to your image. Don't customize a div to look like a button. Use the semantic syntax for what they're supposed to be used for. Divide your web pages into sections, navigations. Try to just implement the little things as you build. Forget about like the scaling up, or later we're going to do that. Just build from the little fundamental things that you can, and we will get to that place. So what's the process like? Most people would think of like the process of, okay, accessibility is really hard to learn. We don't know how to we don't know how to use screen readers. We want this awesome animation, but Bina, we don't have the time for like to reduce the motion. Excuse me. We don't have the time to reduce the motion. It becomes something that you overthink. So it's kind of like the first image where you have a tire, you're like, okay, I need to get a ramp and get another tire, and then I will get a car. And you're like, it sounds so strenuous. But I want you to think of accessibility and in web applications as doing the little things first. So you have a skateboard, and then you're moving, and then you get a scooter, and then you're going, and you're like, okay, cool. Now I want to be able to like propel myself a little bit. I want to be able to add some screen reader functionality. I want to be able to make sure that my colors are well defined for people in this demographic, because I'm dealing, especially in like e-commerce platforms. Please label the things that you put out there, because people, we don't want to. We have this saying in Nigeria: what I ordered from Jumia and what Jumia versus what Jumia gave to me. It's it's mostly because like there's not much labeling and stuff. So please take the process of implementing accessibility into your platforms as easy as you can, step by step. It's a marathon, it's not a race. Research, the process of knowing. Now, this is my best part of building a product. This is the part where you know what you want to build, but now you have to go know the user that you want to build for. The research, you speak to these different users, especially, and with research, you have to be careful not to do so much, but then do enough. Do so much in the sense of you can't solve every accessibility problem, but you can solve the ones that are particular to your application. You can try to like do research, speak to people. So for example, if I was building an e-commerce site, I want to speak to people that have pain points of like going to the markets to go buy stuff. I want to speak to people that would shop and get like what they didn't order from Jumia. But like, and this is not to share Jumia or anything, my bad. but the point is, you have to do this research, know your user, speak to your user, get that information, and the process is kind of like this. You work with your user, you get the user gives you feedback, you get that feedback, and your user do like a fist bump and like a funny handshake, and then you create that feedback loop where it's important for you to have like that feedback to be able to continue building and making sure that in every point you are still in the process of building for the same users. And if you want to expand into another demographic, please go do research for that demographic and don't just assume that one use case works for everybody. You have to keep on doing that research and creating that feedback loop. And when you're done with that research, create a knowledge base, create something that you can go back to and say, okay, at some point when you're building, you kind of just forget where you started from and where you're heading to. So you start to like get like, be like SpongeBob, wear your glasses and read up. And everyone that comes into your team should have an idea of what's going on with this product, should have an idea of how we are building this application and how we're trying to scale this up. And finally, test and maintain. So you need to test your application, test it yourself, give it to people to test, ask people that actually in the use case that you're trying to solve, ask them, what do you think about this? Give me honest feedback. What do you hate about this? Get that customer feedback loop going. And please keep it clean, maintain your applications. As much as like more stuff is coming up, as much as you keep adding more stuff, keep implementing and making sure that everything is clean. So to round this up, I want to say that I believe that we can create a web that accommodates everyone, one piece of accessible code at a time. A friend of mine at work makes this comment and she says, deploy on Fridays, but make it an accessibility change. I don't know, but then I would really want to see more accessible applications come out of Africa, because we are, without knowing, we are in the change of history. Because in Africa, there's like not so many laws that make us build products that would be accessible to everyone, but like we can start getting these habits and building these products and create a web for everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, let's push accessible code. Hey.
Hi, so you had it. Let us push accessible code out there. And that was amazing. So for now, let's move into cloud from the web. And we are going to have our own John Kimani from Kenya giving us the cloud keynote. Karibu, John.
Thanks. Thank you, Tabi, for that introduction and the welcome. I'm truly excited to be here this morning and to do a short presentation on Google Cloud. So I'll go ahead and get started. I don't know if you can see my screen in any way. Can you bring it up?
Let me add it. Okay, yeah, sure.
Cool, fantastic. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Kimani. I'm a program manager with the developer relations team here in Nairobi, and I lead the work that we do with developers and startups in Kenya and East Africa more broadly. I'd like us to spend some time this morning looking at an average apps development process and how Google Cloud can simplify some of the recurrent everyday tasks for you. Right. So let's jump straight into it. So before we get started, it's worth asking the questions. So what's so difficult about application development anyways, right? So building a modern application is way more complex than it used to be a few years back, with a lot of steps that are not really about writing code, right? So everything from picking a platform infrastructure provider to maintaining operating systems, all the way through to monitoring, logging, testing once your application goes live. Very few developers enjoy carrying out the tasks in the middle, right? So stuff like, thinking about networking, storage, and getting the right kind of storage environment, all of that. And so what Google Cloud does is that it's designed to make the bulk of these tasks easier or transparent from a developer perspective. So cloud computing platforms in general are built on very advanced, sophisticated technologies, and what this makes these platforms even more capable is the solutions that you build on top of them, right? And so GCP has a set of products that are designed to specifically make it easier for you to build and maintain solutions on the cloud. So for the next couple of minutes, we shall be looking at how Google Cloud provides an end-to-end workflow for developing, deploying, debugging applications to services such as App Engine and others. Broadly speaking, as a software developer, you need two things. You need, one, the ability to quickly build and make your applications available to your target users. And secondly, you need actionable insights during production on some of the errors or issues that might be coming up as users interact with your application. These actionable insights will help you to continuously iterate and improve on your applications. So let's start with the development process, right? The software dev process ideally starts with identifying a location for your source code. And Google Cloud has you covered. GCP has what we call cloud source repositories, or CSR in short, which provides you with a single place for you and your team to store, manage, and track code. It's ideally enterprise-grade Git hosting, right? So Git is already very familiar to most of you, and it's designed to manage massive code bases and provide high availability. In the event that you already have your code set up on a different Git environment, you can easily bring it over to CSR because it allows mirroring with GitHub or Bitbucket repositories. We also recently introduced support for GitLab. And so you get a standard source code browser where you can view your repository files. You can perform basic Git operations that you used to, everything from cloning, logging, all of that. You can do all of that on CSR. But it's more than just a private Git repo. Because this code is hosted on GCP, it makes it very easy to extend your workflows by connecting to other Google Cloud tools. So everything from Google Cloud Build, App Engine, operations products that we shall be looking at later on in this presentation. CSR also comes with code search, which allows you to search for specific code snippets across multiple repos at once using advanced syntax like regular expressions to make it easier to find your code and reuse some of the snippets you'd want to. So once you have your code written out and you're happy with the way that it's performing, then the next step is deploying that code, right? And again, GCP has you covered. So your application is up and running, and so your code is already set up, and GCP provides you with a serverless CI/CD platform known as Cloud Build. Quick refresh on continuous CI/CD. It's essentially automating all the tasks that you have in between writing your code and deploying it to production, right? And it uses pipelines a lot, which essentially automate your software delivery process. The pipeline focuses on building code. You can run your tests and safely deploy new versions of your application. You get a lot of benefits to automating your CI/CD process, and especially if you're working in a team. If you're in a team of more than 2 developers, then it becomes very important to be able to automate some of these repetitive tasks. And automated pipelines remove manual errors. You get a way of providing standardized feedback loops to your dev team, and it also enables fast production iterations because then you focus on writing code and everything else in between is automated. So the code source repositories that we looked at under development is integrated with Cloud Build, making it easy to compile, test, package, and deploy to any Google Cloud runtime. So App Engine could be containers with Kubernetes. So some of the features you get with Cloud Build include being able to build automated deployment pipelines. You can also deploy to integrated products on Google Cloud, so Kubernetes Engine, App Engine. You can integrate with Cloud Functions as well, all the way up to Firebase, right? You're able to quickly deploy in minutes, making it easier for you to move your code into production, and you get extremely fast builds due to the underlying robust, highly available, and scalable GCP infrastructure. One quick note on the cost side of things, you get an average of 120 minutes free build time each day, which is quite generous for an average sized code base. So as you're getting started with your startup, or as you're getting started with your product, you have more than enough time to use Cloud Build before you start paying for it. And any additional usage is billed per minute, which makes it easier to use. So you've written your code, you've deployed your code. Once your application is up and running, right, you need to be able to have a way of keeping an eye on what's going on, right? So users have started interacting with the application, and inevitably errors will start to surface. And so you need an easy way of tracking what's going on. So Cloud Operation provides you with the ability to see how your code deployment is behaving, or track something that's broken in production, and see how your users are getting impacted by some of these faults. It's a suite of tools to monitor, troubleshoot, and operate your services at scale. Right. For those of you who've used GCP before, this used to be known as Stack Driver and has now been renamed to Cloud Operations, bringing together this suite of tools to make it easier for you to keep tabs on your application in production. So let's take a look at the key features that you get. The first of which is Cloud Login, which is very important for an application in production. It aggregates log data from all your applications and brings it into a single location. It collects the data from different GCP services automatically. And you also get the added advantage of being able to bring in custom logs from your applications through a login agent or a built-in login API. You also get the flexibility of being able to choose where you can store your logs or what to do with your logs. So you can throw them to Google Cloud Storage for archival purposes, or you can pass them on to BigQuery for analysis. So this is very important once your application is in production. Second bit you get is monitoring, which gives you with this standardized observability across your apps and infrastructure, regardless of where it is. right? So cloud monitoring can monitor an application that's on premise. So you could have a service like a payment API that's on a different platform. It can help you keep tabs on that if it's offline or online, or if something else is going wrong. And you can do all of that using the cloud monitoring tools. It also gives you a dashboard where you can easily monitor your overall application health and keep tabs of different services, API endpoints, and all of that. And finally, you get a suite of application performance management tools. First and foremost, you get Trace, which helps you visualize request flows, your service topology. And I think for me, most importantly, being able to keep an eye on latency issues, because with online solutions, then with the cloud-based solution, that's an important aspect to keep an eye on. You also get Debugger, which allows you to inspect the state of running applications after deployment without the need to stop or slow down these applications in production. You're able to attach breakpoints on your running code, so a specific section of your code, without the need to redeploy your entire code base. And finally, you also get Profiler, which continuously analyzes your code's performance on each service. Again, it runs in production and does not degrade the performance of your primary solutions, right? So they run in parallel, and performance is maintained. Cool. So as we wrap it up, so coming back to where we started, so looking at that app development cycle we talked about, GCP provides you with an integrated set of tools to simplify that dev, deployment, and debug process. On the develop side, you get code source repositories, which is a familiar Git environment. I have to reiterate that. On deployment, you get Cloud Build, which is integrated with CSR, making it easier for you to automate your deployment processes. And finally, you get Cloud Operations, which comes with monitoring, it comes with logging, and the advanced set of tools that we spoke about. If you're interested in the nuts and bolts of how all of this works, I just talked through the features. I would recommend joining the session by Google developer expert Chuka, which will be coming up in an hour's time. And he'll be covering all of this in more detail and really looking at the specific ways and looking at examples of how to use these tools on GCP. So please look out for that. Happy coding, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your DevFest sessions. Back to you, Tabi.
Okay, thank you so much, John. That was really, really insightful. I think a lot of people are now curious to learn more about cloud. Thank you so much for joining us today and for the amazing session on cloud. We have come to the end of our keynote session. We have had Murat speaking about Android. We have had Obina speaking about web, and we have finalized it with John Kimani speaking about Google Cloud and many other things on cloud. And our keynote speaker for the day was Chris Kiogiri. We are going to be moving to the breakout sessions. Remember we said we are going to be having breakout sessions, and they are going to be amazing. They're going to have lots of amazing speakers, I don't know if they're going to have giveaways. Let's hope. Okay, so in the next 6 minutes, we are going to be starting our breakout sessions. And the first room is going to be having Rosario Fernandez, who is a GDE for Firebase. So he's going to be talking about Firebase and Kotlin, extension, coroutines, and flows. So if you are interested in Firebase, extension, coroutines, and flows, move to Rosario's segment. You are going to learn a lot. Then next up, we're going to be having Nikita speaking about your Angular is on fire. Like Angular on fire. Oh my, I can't even imagine how that looks like. I've only imagined Firebase on fire, but now I have to imagine if Angular was on fire. So Nikita is a GDE for Angular. So move to the session if you are interested. As John has mentioned, there is going to be a session on cloud by Chuka Ofili. So Chuka is going to be talking about GitOps styles, CI/CD. So if you're interested about knowing GitOps styles, please don't forget to join Chuka's session happening at 11:30. So just move to that session. They're going to be posting the links. Then on the last breakout session, we are having a session on build multi-platform augmented reality applications using Unity and Echo by Sachin Kumar, who is a GDE for assistant. So yes, we have 4 GDEs giving us this amazing session. So if you are interested in any of those sessions, I'm just going to be repeating them again. First part, we have Rosario Fernandez, who is a GDE for Firebase, all the way from Mozambique, joining us and speaking about extensions, coroutines, and flows. On the next channel, we are going to be having Nikita speaking about Your Angular is on Fire, who is a GDE for Angular. So you can move there, get to listen to what is going to be happening. Then on the other channel, we are going to be having Chuka Ofili, who is a GDE for GCP, all the way from Nigeria. Come on. Speaking about GitHub style CI/CD. So if you're interested in learning more about it, move there, get to asking questions. Having known Chuka, he tells me he's been coding for 12 years plus. And I look at myself, 12 years ago, what was I doing? Probably eating soil. You know how it goes. On the last channel, we are going to be having Sachin Kumar speaking about building multi-platform augmented reality applications using Unity and Echo. So if you're interested, move to the various channels. I hope I have not missed out on anything. This is super exciting. Come on. We are going to be having a breakout session, a very, very interesting one for the next 35 minutes. But before that, we have a game coming up. I don't know if it's Terry who's handling this or Asha, is it you who's handling it? Give me a hand if it's you handling. So yes, we have game time first. Let's play. After playing, let's move to the breakout sessions. Come on, let's do this together. Okay, Asha, I'm adding you up.
I think it's Terry handling the game.
Oh, Terry, you're the one handling. Okay, so we have Terry on the platform also. But once again, thank you so much to our keynote speakers, John Kimani. Thank you so much, Obina. Thank you so much, Murat. And thank you so much, Chris Kiagiri. This was really interesting. So let us move to the breakout sessions. But before that, game time. I don't know who's handling the games. I'm trying to see. You know the way when you're having these virtual events, like the technical glitches, so happens. We all understand. I hope we all understand this. So yeah. Super excited. If we are not going to be having the games, then let's move to the channels. Let's just go. Let's go learn a lot. Breakout sessions going on. Thank you all.